There is a major breaking news story that just came across the wires a few hours ago, and it confirms something that this channel has been talking about for over a year. A prediction we made has now come to pass. Things are going to get very bad for people in the North, in the Midwest, and on the West Coast, but in the South, things are going to actually get better, and a lot better very soon. I'm sure everyone is aware of the container ships that are stuck off the coast of California. They can't keep up with all of them because California is an anti-work state. They don't believe in a day's work for a day's pay. Everybody has to be a victim of something, and they have to live off the government because that's what they're entitled to. Well, now that belief system has come home to roost, and they're redirecting now container ships from the West Coast to Florida. Earlier today, we were live with the governor at Jacksport, where they were talking about how European producers are now leaving California behind, leaving New York behind, and redirecting all of their business to Florida and our 15 ports. To give an example of our capacity, recently California bragged that they have stepped up unloading to 24 hours a day. Well, that's standard practice and has been for Florida for a long time, because we're pro-business, we're pro-work. But all of those container ships, that's a lot of money. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that California is now going to lose out on, that the state of Florida is going to cash in on. Now, here's something that I don't think a lot of people would believe, but you can look it up. Over 100 million consumers live within a one day truck drive of Jacksport Terminal in Florida. Jacksonville, of course, is way up on the northeast corner. One day, 100 million consumers. And that's just one of our ports. Europe has started to take note. They are redirecting all of their business now to where they can actually get their goods on the shelf. You see, for everyone who goes to the store and goes around the corner in an aisle and there's an empty shelf of things that they would have purchased, there's somebody who produced those goods who loses out on a sale. So not only do you lose out on a purchase, they lose out on a sale. So they have a vested interest in getting those shelves full. And whoever can get that done, however it can get done, that's who's getting the business. Florida is starting to pull away globally, financially, from the rest of the country. And it's just the reality. You can either accept that or continue to live in some kind of a dream world where everyone thinks it's all going to get better just on its own. This has directly to do with the decisions being made by our government here in Florida. Now, here's the big news story. Sorry about that. Billionaire grocery store owner predicts food prices will surge 10% over the next 2 months. John Catsimatidis, food prices will climb 10% within 2 months. The owner of a supermarket chain, Groceries, predicted. Now that's a New York chain. They're running out of stuff. President of the New York chain supermarket, Gristidi, I don't know how you really say that, but told Mornings with Maria that food prices were going up faster than anyone expected. I see over 10% in the next 60 days. That's between now and Christmas. You see, he's talking about what's going to affect him directly. And he doesn't believe the trend's going to reverse anytime soon. What happens when you have a lot of dollars chasing too few goods? More and more and more inflation. Now, where there isn't going to be inflation is here in Florida. And this is a lot of the reason I put together this map literally over a year ago, saying there's going to be one place where you can live, generally speaking, one region, where things will be kind of normal-ish. But if you're on the West Coast, if you're up in the Northeast, if you're in the Midwest, I don't care how much corn you grow out there, your cabinets are full of things that aren't corn, and they come from all over the place. Things, people ask me, Florida Maki, what do you think about America this or America that? I don't have one opinion for the whole country, because it's going to be very different depending on where you are. The farther you are from where the ports are actually operating, the more expensive it's going to be. Most of the stuff that comes into Florida, they don't even have to put on a semi-truck. They can put it on a straight truck. And it's basically last mile delivery. It's only a matter of hours, not days. This is why long ago the prediction I said, if you want to fix this country, it's going to get harder before it gets easier. But the first step is voting with your money, voting with your feet. People have poured into Florida, poured into the South, and they've brought their money with them. And they have divested themselves of these places out west in the Northeast, and the collapse is beginning. I thought this was going to take years. I didn't think it would take less than a year. So it's kind of good, bad news. It's great news for people in Florida, kind of good news for some in the South. There's places in the South that are going to see shortages, but not like on the West Coast, and not like up in the Northeast, or definitely not the Midwest. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see dollar stores start closing, literally closing. And this is going to be another thing as prices go up. Florida has, right now, the state of Florida has $10 billion in cash reserves. We are a debt-free state, and we have no state income tax. So as challenges appear, and we're not completely immune from inflation, we're going to be able to deal with it. That's why this was the only answer. 50 independent states governing themselves independently, and then just let the chips fall where they may. And the reality will be something that no one can deny. If there's a problem, it's going to be on your state to fix it. Washington Post, and this was the most hilarious article. I'm not going to read all of it. It's an opinion piece talking about, don't rant about short-staffed stores and supply chain woes. Try to lower expectations. Translation, they can't even fight back. They're just going to have to deal with the lowered expectations of their decisions and feel sorry for themselves, which they, leftists, always leftists, progressives, that's what they always want to do. They want to make themselves out to be victims and feel bad for themselves and blame everyone else. Well, in this particular case, they're going to be right. But these ships are not going to California anymore. And believe me, once they start coming to Florida, they're not going to just wait for California to fix its stuff and then start going back. Absolutely not. And all the food and all of the items and consumer goods that come through Florida, who do you think controls the food supply now? Who do you think controls the food supply now? Does this image start to make more sense? This is going to be New York. This is going to be Michigan. This is going to be California. And anyone who votes like them, and anybody who believes in their direction. And if you're somebody still trying to hang on, saying, gosh, I think I can fix my state and maybe make it vote for the guy in Bedminster next time, you're going to have a choice. And these will be your three choices. You can do this for a living, you can do this for a living, or you can do this for a living. And I'll leave it up to your imagination. Now, you ready to have your mind blown? Hookers, beggars, and thieves. That's all this series was about. Hookers, beggars, and thieves. The entire first season, for sure, takes place centered around a brothel in Nassau, frequented by pirates and basically beggars and homeless and people that have no place to go. Pirates have a big score and they come into town and they spread around the wealth and everything's fine, but most of the rest of the time it's pretty much hell. Sometimes freedom works out that way. So like I said, be prepared, but also understand there are decisions that can be made going forward that can change your circumstances, but time is short. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and Lord willing, we will see you guys tonight on Twitch.